Hello and welcome to my presentation on the Bay of Pigs invasion. You will learn the background information, what it was and how it went down, and its impact on America. Since the end of World War II, the U.S. and Russia have been involved in a Cold War which pitted two opposing political ideologies, the U.S. Democratic and Russia Communist. President Batista was making millions of dollars from the U.S. Mafia as well as the U.S. government. As a young militant, Fidel Castro saw the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. Castro felt that the wealth should be shared with the masses. Castro seized power, leading Cuba into a communist regime. The Bay of Pigs invasion was a CIA operation to push Castro out of power after his guerrilla army overthrew Batista. Having Fidel Castro in power on an island that was as close to as 100 miles away from the U.S. soil made the U.S. nervous because, unlike Batista, who was pro-American, Castro didn't like the U.S. bringing their business and interest into Cuba, and as Castro saw it, bleeding Cuba. In March 1960, Dwight D. Eisenhower gave $13.1 million to the CIA to overthrow Castro. The CIA had the help of the Mafia and Cuban refugees, the people who ran to the U.S. after Castro took power. Following the election of 1960, newly elected President John F. Kennedy, a World War II hero, was filled in on the plan in Bay of Pigs and gave his consent, although part of him had a feeling it wouldn't go as planned. The first thing that was planned for the Bay of Pigs invasion was to destroy Castro's small air force. To do this, the U.S. planned for B-26 bombers. Doing this would pretty much make it so Castro's military couldn't resist the invaders. This part of the plan came into action on April 15, 1960, when a group of Cuban exiles took off in the bombers, painted to look like stolen Cuban planes from Nicaragua. Turns out that Castro had already known about the plan and moved his planes out of harm's way. Too late to stop this plan, the Cuban exiles started an invasion on the southern shore known as the Bay of Pigs. Almost as soon as it began, the invasion was a huge disaster. The CIA later found out that the radio station on the beach, which the CIA failed to spot, was broadcasting every single detail about the invasion to listeners across Cuba. As the invaders came up to the isolated shore, unexpected coral reefs sank the ships. The backup paratroopers ended up landing in all the random places, and before the invaders knew it, Castro's military had them pinned down. The exiles surrendered within less than a day of fighting. 114 were killed and 1,100 were taken prisoner. But the U.S. failed attempt to oust him. Castro endured himself war with the Soviet Union. Any chance of political or economic ties with Castro and Cuba were now lost. Cuba would hold on to its communist identity even after the fall of the Iron Curtain from the Soviet Union. The U.S. was now on a higher stage of military readiness, having a communist satellite just off its shores.